अभिवादन स्वीकार कीजिए नीरज राव का कल्चर क्वांटम के इस अध्याय में। In this episode of the Culture Quantum, we are going to cover the regional dynasties of India from the ancient and medieval India, which are very important from the exam perspective, and their timeline and their important contribution has often been asked in not only UPSC prelims examination but all the exams conducted by UPSC and the several governmental bodies in India. So let's begin this journey. So let's start the journey with the Vakata kingdom of Maharashtra, which existed between 250 AD to 500 AD. And as far as the area of the Vakata kingdom is concerned, it covered the entire area of the Malwa, so as it included the areas of the Gujarat, entire Maharashtra, and it was also touching the southern borders of the Tungabhadra river. The capital of this particular kingdom was Vatsgumla, which is now the modern district of Wasim in central Maharashtra. Vindhya Sakti is believed to be the first ruler or basically the founder of this particular dynasty. But it was the Pravar Sen first who expanded the kingdom to the frontiers which I have mentioned in this video. Vakatakas were the practitioners of Hinduism, but they also patronized and promoted Buddhism and Jainism. So some of their rulers were very closer to the Buddhist faith also. Now, another very interesting and important fact about the Vakatakas, that the rock-cut cave monuments of Ajanta, like Viharas and Chaityas of Ajanta, they were created due to the patronage of the Vakatak ruler Hari Sen. Vakatakas were contemporary of the Guptas, and in fact they shared a very good relation with the Guptas. For example, Gupta ruler Chandragupta II married his daughter Prabhavati to Rudra Sen II, and with the support of the Vakatak ruler Rudra Sen II, Gupta ruler Chandragupta II was able to defeat Sak Satrapa of the Gujarat, and Sak Satrapa of the Gujarat were a constant threat to the Guptas, and in fact in one such incident they have kidnapped one of the Gupta ruler Ramagupta. By 500 AD, Vakatakas lost their kingdom to the Western Chalukyas, or basically the Chalukyas of Badami. But last but not the least, Vakatakas were also known for their patronage to literature. In fact, some of the Vakatak rulers, they were great composers of the Prakrit literature. For example, Pravar Sen II wrote Setubandh, which was written in Maharashtri Prakrit, and Sarva Sen wrote Hari Vijay, which was also written in Maharashtri Prakrit. And this particular literature, Hari Vijay, it tells the story of the Parija tree which was brought by Lord Krishna to the planet Earth. And moreover, it is to be remembered that these Maharashtri Prakrit, which were written at this point of time, they are one of the initial progenitors of the Marathi literature. Moving on to the next important dynasty from the ancient India, it is the Kadamba dynasty, which ruled in Karnataka in between 345 AD to 540 AD. And this dynasty was founded in 345 by Mayur Sharma. It's a very interesting name, which is used in today's time also. And their capital was Banvasi. So Banvasi was also in the middle of the Karnataka. As far as this dynasty is concerned, this was the first indigenous dynasty of the Karnataka, which started using Kannada language as the language of the soil. And from here onwards, the history of the Kannada literature is starting, and further promotion of the Kannada language started. Another important fact about the Kadamba dynasty, that they were the contemporaries of the Western Ganga dynasty. And you must not confuse the Western Ganga dynasty with the Eastern Ganga dynasty, because Eastern Ganga dynasty ruled in the Kalinga, that is Odisha, and Western Ganga dynasty was in the area of the Karnataka itself. So they were contemporaries of the Western Ganga dynasty. The most important ruler of the Kadamba dynasty was the Kakusthavarman, who expanded the kingdom, and because of which it was able to continue till 540 AD. Moving further to the third important dynasty from the ancient India, Western Ganga dynasty of the Karnataka. And this dynasty ruled in between 345 AD to 1000 AD. They ruled in the area of the southern Karnataka, which includes the areas like Kolar, Talakadu and Mysore. After the rise of the Western Chalukyas of the Badami, they accepted the overlordship of the Western Chalukyas in the middle of the 6th century AD. Though it was a small kingdom, but its contribution in the culture and literature was immense, and the further patronage to the Kannada literature continued at this point of time. Another very important fact about Western Ganga dynasty, that they were benevolent to all the faith, that is Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism, but there was a special corner for the Jainism, and it is because of their patronage, the very important place associated with the Jainism, Shravan-Belgola, and the monuments that you see at the Shravan-Belgola was created under their patronage. Apart from it, there is another place which is known as Kadamba Haldi, which is also a Jainism place. It was created under the patronage of these rulers. As already mentioned, Western Ganga kings promoted the literature. So literature was Kannada, but also the Sanskrit literature. One of the very important texts written by Western Ganga ruler was Chavundaraya Purana, and it was written by Chavundaraya in 978 AD. It is one of the finest Kannada prose written in the earliest times. Moving on to fourth important dynasty of ancient India, it is the Kalachuri dynasty, which ruled in between 550 AD to 625 AD. It was a short-lived dynasty, and the area of their rule was basically the Malwa. But then the Malwa also included the place Ujjaini, and the capital of this dynasty was Maheshmati. So Maheshmati is very closer to Ujjaini, and it can be identified with one of the sub-town of the today's Ujjain. As far as the Kalachuris are concerned, their origin is uncertain. There is no clarity about that how this dynasty originated. But then epigraphic and numismatic evidences suggest that it is during their rule first of the monuments of the Ellora and Elephanta were created. Later on, these monuments were further expanded and further created and further improvised by the Rashtrakuta ruler. But please remember that it was the Kalachuri rulers who created the initial premises of the Ellora and so as the Elephanta. And as far as their demise is concerned, they lost their power to Western Chalukya after the rise of this Chalukya branch of the Badami. Another very important dynasty from the ancient India is the Ikshvaku dynasty. As far as the Ikshvaku of the Deccan are concerned, their rule was in between 225 AD to 340 AD. They were believed to be feudatories of the Satvahanas. But later on, after the demise of the Satvahanas, their importance increased in the areas of the Nagarjuna Konda. And in fact, the earliest name of the Nagarjuna Konda, which was known as Vijaypura, and later on, under the patronage of the Ikshvaku clan, it emerged as the Nagarjuna Konda Buddhist center. But then when it comes to the history of the Ikshvaku clan, it goes back even thousands and thousands years back. So the Ikshvaku kings of Deccan, they claim their descent from the legendary king Ikshvaku, who is believed to existed thousands and thousands years ago. And in fact, it is believed that Ikshvaku king was actually the founder of the solar dynasty, what we call Surya Vans. And it is also believed that Lord Ram was the clan of the Ikshvakus. So according to the legendary stories, Ikshvaku clan existed in the Kosala and Ayodhya was their capital. And the Ikshvakus existed in the Indian history at one time or another time, but then they remain relevant in the Indian history. In fact, such is the importance of the Ikshvaku clan that even in Jainism, it is said that Adinath Rishabdev was also the descendant of the Ikshvaku clan. Similarly, even in Buddhism, some of the scholars, they believe that even Gautam Buddha was also one of the descendant of the Ikshvaku clan. As far as the Deccan Ikshvakus are concerned, they ruled in the area between Krishna and Godavari river, and later on they also lost their power to the Chalukyas. So moving on to the dynasty which connects to the ancient India to the medieval and so as it continues till the modern, that is 1947. So it is the Eastern Ganga dynasty of the Odisha. There were three phases of this dynasty. So the very initial phase was the early Eastern Ganga dynasty phase, that is basically from 493 to 1077 AD. The second phase is the Imperial Ganga dynasty phase, 1077 to 1436 AD. And the final phase is the Khemundi Ganga dynasty phase, which is from 1436 to 1947 till the independence of India. So the early Ganga dynasty, it covered the area of today's entire Odisha, which was earlier known as Kalinga. Not only this, but they also covered the area of the Andhra Pradesh, so as touching the parts of the Telangana and so as the parts of the Chhattisgarh. The earliest capital of Ganga dynasty was Kalinga Nagara, which is today's Mukhalingam district of the Odisha, and later on Cuttack became their capital, which was earlier known as Kattaka. Another very important thing to be noted about the Eastern Ganga dynasty, that their official language was Odia, and from here onwards Odia started to emerge as the language of this region. Moreover, Odia language emerged from the Odia Prakrit, and Prakrit are the natural languages of India. There were many varieties. Moving on further about this dynasty in today's world, it is more remembered for their world-renowned temple architectures, and some of the important temples which they have created, which still holds a very high relevance in the Hindu society, is Jagannath Temple of Puri, Sun Temple of Konark, Anant Vasudev Temple of Bhubaneswar, Narsingh Dev Temple of Seshachalam. These are some examples, and they created thousands of the temple which still exist. Last but not the least, in the medieval times, the currency of the Ganga dynasty was known as Fadam, and Fadam was also the currency of many other dynasties which were there in the different parts of the country, so as the Fadam was also the name of the currency of the Delhi Sultanate. Another important medieval dynasty is the Gajapati dynasty of Odisha, but as far as their rule is concerned, it extended from West Bengal to Andhra Pradesh. It started from the lower Ganga valley and extended till the mouth of the Kaveri river. So effectively it included the entire Odisha, parts of the West Bengal, some parts of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and so as the Chhattisgarh. They were also a solar dynasty, and the regime of the Gajapati rulers existed between 1434 to 1541. As far as the Gajapati rule is concerned, they are more remembered for their patronage to the Hinduism and especially Vaishnavite tradition. It was the time when the influence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very high in this area, and majority of the rulers of the Gajapati dynasty, they started to follow the footsteps of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the relation to this particular Vaishnavite faith, they constructed many temples, and one of the notable temple is the Kapileshwar temple of Bhubaneswar. Gajapatis were also the solar dynasty, which means that they belong to Surya Vams. And in fact, many of the dynasties in India, they claim their descent to the sun god, just like the Ikshvaku. So lastly, due to their non-fighting nature, Gajapati rulers lost their power to Vijayanagar kingdom in the 16th century. Another very important dynasty from the medieval India was the Kakatiya dynasty, and Kakatiyas ruled entire Telangana, Andhra, parts of Odisha, and so as the parts of the upper Tamil Nadu. And their territory also included some parts of the Karnataka. As far as the Kakatiya rulers are concerned, the earliest evidence of their existence is from 800 AD. But then the first ruler who established the sovereignty was the Prataparudra I. As far as the naming of the Kakatiya rulers are concerned, they trace their name from the goddess Kakati, and goddess Kakati is believed to be the form of the goddess Durga, Ma Amba, Ma Sakti. Another thing, that Kakatiyas trace their origin to a person Durjaya, and Durjaya is believed to be the descendant of the Karikala Chola, the great Chola emperor of the early Chola phase. Ganapati Deva was the most important ruler of this dynasty, and it is during his regime the Kakatiya dynasty has reached to its maximum expanse, and its territorial climax has happened under the Ganapati Deva. The territory of the Kakatiyas at this time is in between the Godavari and the Krishna river, and moreover there is a constant struggle with the Yadava kingdom of the Devagiri. After Ganapati Deva, the next ruler of this dynasty or next ruler of this kingdom was Rudrama Devi. She is one of the earliest example of the female rulers in India, and she is also celebrated for her brave victory against the Yadava dynasty of the Devagiri. At the time of the Rudrama Devi, the famous Venetian traveler Marco Polo, he visited Warangal, which was the capital of the Kakatiyas. The old name of the Warangal was Orugali, and Marco Polo wrote high praises about the Queen Rudrama Devi. And in fact, impressed by the bravery and the story of the Rudrama Devi, the government of India has also constituted a bravery award on her name, Rudrama Devi Award. After the regime of the Rudrama Devi, the next important ruler was the Pratap Rudra II, and Pratap Rudra II was the contemporary of the Alauddin Khilji. This is the time when Alauddin Khilji's campaign of the Warangal has started by his general, his trusted general Malik Kafur. In 1310, invasion of the Kakatiya kingdom has happened, and Pratap Rudra was defeated. So now Pratap Rudra was forced by Alauddin Khilji to pay the annual tribute, and this is the time when Pratap Rudra was forced to give the famous Kohinoor diamond to Alauddin Khilji, the mysterious diamond, and the diamond which has the history of curse also. You'll get to know it at another place. Kakatiyas were one of the finest temple builders. By this point of time, already the Dravid temple architecture has completely developed, and they created one of the very famous temple, that is the Ramappa Rudreshwar temple. And this temple has now been inscribed in UNESCO heritage site. In 1323, the celebrated rule of the Kakatiyas with the attack of Tughlaq dynasty, and finally this dynasty was subsumed within the Delhi Sultanate. So moving on to one of the most important medieval dynasties, that is the Hoysala dynasty, or establishment of the Hoysala kingdom. So the kingdom was in between 1000 AD to 1343. And this was the most powerful Kannadiga dynasty. They ruled entire modern Karnataka, also covering the areas from Kerala, Tamil Nadu, so as Andhra, and so as some parts of Maharashtra. The most important phase in the expansion of this kingdom happened when there was a fight between the Western Chalukyas and Kalachuris. So Hoysalas took advantage of this situation, and they further expanded in the erstwhile areas of the Kalachuri and the Western Chalukya. Nripakam was the first initial important ruler who was somewhere around 1026 AD. But the most important ruler of this dynasty was Vishnuvardhan, whose regime existed from 1108 to 1152. And in 1116, King Vishnuvardhan defeated the Cholas, the imperial Cholas, who were known for their immense power in the southern India. This further improved the strength and the prestige and also the territory of the Hoysalas. Moreover, Hoysalas in today's time are more remembered for their contribution to the architectural scenario of India. They created one of the most unique and stupendous architecture of India, that is Hoysala temples. Some of the important temples in this particular category are Hoysaleswar temple of Halebidu, Channakeswar temple of Somnathpura, and Channakeswar temple of Beluru. You can see on the screen I button. If you click on the I button, it will lead you to the details of the Hoysaleswar temple, which has already been uploaded. Hoysala rulers also promoted the literature, and the two favored literature of their time was obviously the Kannada literature, so as the Sanskrit literature. And finally, the grand rule of the Hoysalas came to an end during the Tughlaq dynasty. The celebrated rule of Hoysalas came to a complete end in 1343 when it fell to Delhi Sultanate, and the last ruler of this dynasty was Veer Ballal Dev IV. So this name you must have heard in many movies and many places, but then this name was related to the Hoysala kings. All the dynasties that we have discussed today, the notes of all these dynasties will be available. I will be uploading on my Telegram channel. The name of the Telegram channel is Neeraj Rao AK. You can also search with Culture Quantum. You can find the Telegram channel. So please download the script of this particular video. last suggestion from my side, or you can consider it as a request, that don't pester too much about exam. And this last week is all about revising what you have studied. And already we are contributing towards your preparation through this video. So please stick to your plan and don't give up. This is not the time to give up. All the best to all of you and do well in the exam. And to further know about some of the important topics of the modern India, please stay connected to Culture Quantum, and please do not forget to share, subscribe, like, comment and recommend the channel Culture Quantum. Thank you.